Salve a tutti, sono Rossi Wolf 89 e oggi faremo la nostra piccola mini recap di una serie TV che metteremo nella nostra raccolta mm, trisettimanale di serie TV e quindi le potrete vedere sia su Twitch che su YouTube. Allora, oggi tratteremo come serie TV preferita eh, Vikings. Vikings è una serie TV eh, che diciamo capite più o meno di che cosa si tratta. È girata nel 2013, dal 2013 al 2021. eh, le puntate si aggirano intorno ai 50 minuti, tra 45 e 50 minuti. È abbastanza lunga, tocca diversi temi, oltre ad essere un telefilm in costume, ambiente storico, e tocca anche la parte, quindi azione e avventura ovviamente, ma tocca anche il tema drammatico. E tratta di diciamo, di diverse figure, ma quella principale è appunto, uno si chiama Radnar, tutte le volte mi impappino, Ragnar Lodbrok. Oh, perfetto. Allora, vichinghi, questo avete capito? Questo è l'Agnar, è un piccolo fattore di di una città sperduta del Canada, cioè girato in Canada. Eh, che rivoluzionerà il sistema di usi e costumi di conquista del territorio dei vichinghi. Dopo entrerà anche al potere lui, suo figlio, tutti i suoi figli. Cioè, insomma, le stagioni sono sei, è una serie TV importante, ecco, diciamo così. E poi dal 2013 al 2021 vi ho detto alcuni dati, vi ho detto più o meno di che cosa si tratta. Diciamo, non voglio spoilerare più di tanto, quindi magari guardate due immagini che vi mando e poi prendete la decisione.
Vikings series, the first season. This farmer, Ragnar, is bringing his son to the celebration where he will take the manhood bracelet. Good times for Ragnar and daughter. Ragnar goes to Rollo's brothers and tells them he does not want to conquer the East like every year, and he wants to conquer the West.
I believe there's a way to go west.
I've heard a lot of stories. It is full of treasures. At the ceremony, Ragnar asked the king where he would sail this summer and told them that they would sail east again. Ragnar tells him and tells everyone present that they must go to the west and that there are many treasures, and the king says that all the ships are his own and he is the king and he is the one who says where to go.
All this belongs to me.
Ragnar, he goes to the fortune teller and tells him about his future and says that his future will be very great. In the morning, Ragnar goes to his friend Floki, a boat maker, and asks him to build him a boat and to keep it a secret. Ragnar and Rollo talk about finding people to sail with. And really, Ragnar gathers the people and tells them that he wants to sail to the west, that there are many treasures waiting for them, that he will divide them among them, and that the west is not just a fairy tale. The king's assistant sees them and goes to tell the king. Ragnar goes to say goodbye to his wife and children, and he goes on the ship. And their journey begins, and at night the waves are high, rain and lightning, and they will think that the god Thor is celebrating them. In the morning, those on the boat with Ragnar feel lost and see no land, and begin to question Ragnar's words. And they fly with the crows that are with them. If they are in a nearby land, the crows will return, and if not, they are over. After a long time, they see the beach and celebrate. These are the lands of England and the West, and they pray to church when Christians see them running and hiding in church. And the church bells chime. Ragnar and his men break the door and enter and go to them and kill them. Ragnar sees a monk among them and speaks their language and the name Athelstan. Ragnar stops them from killing this monk and tells his men that he will make him a slave. He tells them to collect all the treasures, and they come again and take everything and go to the king. And the king says that all these treasures are mine and take them.
That all this belongs to me.
Because I am a generous king, I'll leave to everyone just one thing. Ragnar chose to take Athelstan. Ragnar chose him because he may be useful in the future in the lands of the West in the future. At night, Ragnar asks Athelstan about England and learns that it has 4 kingdoms and 4 kings. And they go to the king and say that you know many things about the West and that there are many treasures. And he asks him to sail again to the West, and the king agrees, provided that he takes with him the guard named Nut, and he agrees. Ragnar agrees, and they go. King Nut tells that he must know how Ragnar goes to the West. On the second day they prepare to travel, and this time Ragnar takes his wife with him. And we find out that she is a strong fighter. They come to a land in the west. They find soldiers. The war is going on between them, Ragnar and his soldiers. They kill them. One of them escapes, and he tells the king that the northerners have reached his land. They killed his soldiers. Ragnar arrives at the city, but orders them to wait and not start the attack. Suddenly they hear church bells. Ragnar shouts, attacks, and they really do go in and get all the treasures. The guard Nut enters one of the houses and wants to attack one of them. Ragnar's wife sees him and tries to stop him. He hits her and she kills her. He returned to their land and asked King Ragnar about Nut. Ragnar tells him, he tried to assault my wife and killed him. The king could not believe it and ordered his imprisonment. They set up a court, and the king sentences Ragnar to death, and his wife says it was she who killed Nut, not Ragnar, and the king doesn't think the woman can kill Nut. And the king says he will ask for the testimony of Rollo, Ragnar's brother. The king summoned Rollo before his court appearance and gave him many treasures. He told him that he would marry him to his daughter, in return for his betrayal of his brothers and his testimony against him. Back in court, Rollo says he saw his brother kill Nut, but did so because Nut wanted to assault his wife. He gave his brother freedom. The king goes to the fortune teller and asks him about his future. Says the fortune teller, someone will kill him, and the king will be in your place. And the king understands that this person is Ragnar. The king gathers his soldiers and attacks the village. He chases Ragnar into the forest, he and Athelstan, and we see that Ragnar treats him well, not like slaves, and that they have become friends. Suddenly, the villagers shout and Ragnar runs to save his family, and the king's assistant hits him in the back with an arrow. But Ragnar manages to reach his family, flee with Athelstan. Ragnar is injured and the king says he will kill him, but Ragnar manages to escape from them and jumps from the top of the algebra into the water and catches up with Athelstan. And they went to Floki's house. Meanwhile, the king caught Ragnar's brother and tortured him. To talk about Ragnar's place, Ragnar knows what happened with his brother. He asks Floki to go to the king and asks them to fight. Floki goes to the king and says Ragnar will challenge him to a fight if he refuses. Shame, it will haunt him all his life. And the king agrees. On that day, Ragnar arrived injured. The fight begins between them, swords break, and they fight with axes. Ragnar was wounded more than once, but he can hit the king with a strong blow. And the king falls, and the people kneel Ragnar as the new king. Ragnar orders a large funeral for the king. After winter is over, Ragnar tells them they are going to the west. They reach the west and set up camp in the land of King Egil. And at night they go to King Egil's soldiers' camp and burn and chain the soldiers, among whom is Lord Ethelwolf, King Egil's brother. He took him to negotiate with the King Egil invites them to eat after learning that Lord Ethelwolf is with them. He is his favorite brother. Ragnar says he wants 909 kilos of gold and silver in exchange for leaving and returning Lord Ethelwolf. King Egil agrees, but only on the condition that one of them becomes a Christian. Rollo gets up and tells them he agrees. They took Rollo to perform a ritual to enter Christianity. King Egil sends the gold chest to Camp Ragnar, but when they open the chest, it's empty. King Egil's soldiers attack them. A great battle is taking place, and the Vikings are brutally killing the soldiers, and they are killing all the soldiers of Egil. Ragnar responds to King Ale that he kills Lord Ethelwulf's brothers and sends him to the castle, dragging behind a horse. Ragnar and all the Vikings besiege the castle. The king swears to kill Ragnar, but he has no other choice. Bring them the gold they asked for, and they took and went. And on the second day of King Horik's arrival, he arrived and Ragnar offered him to unite, saying that he needed many men and boats and that he wanted to sail to the lands in the west stronger than England. And that's why I need him, because he will get all the treasures there. King Horik agrees, but on the condition that Ragnar first helps him make a truce with King Jarl. Ragnar agrees that he will fix them and put an end to their differences. The next day they went to King Jarl, and Ragnar told him. He came to make peace, and when he learned that Ragnar was going to the west, he heard from him. Then he responded by agreeing to peace on the condition that King Horik returns to him the land he took from him and suggests to Ragnar I see the land first and that they leave one of them until he returns as security. And the travel period will be 3 days, and Ragnar besip Rollo. In walking, Jarl talks to Rollo about his brother Ragnar. He says he is great and famous and you are not. Nobody knows anything about you. He's trying to make him turn against his brothers. And the next day with Ragnar on his journey to Earth, 2 of Ragnar's soldiers saw a woman bathing and stood and watched, until the guards saw them and when they learned they were Ragnar men. The appearance of the woman who was bathing. She introduced herself as a slog. She told them, Ragnar should apologize to me for what I did. And they come back and tell Ragnar, and he tells them you're watching and I apologize. But when Ragnar sees her and that she is beautiful, he apologizes to her and Ragnar takes her with him on his journey. In the Kattegat of Ragnar's wife, Ladrotha, an epidemic spreads and many people become infected and die, including Ragnar's daughter. And when the Ragnar reaches the ground, it happens between Ragnar and a slog, and on the second day she says she is pregnant. They return to King Jarl, and Floki says that King Horik refused to return the land to him, and that Ragnar would leave him and his men in the morning. King Jarl goes to Rollo and tells him that he must fight and take back his land, and that he wants to fight with him against King Horik and his brother Ragnar, and tells him that he will make a king in the new kingdom. Rollo agrees.
I will fight with you against my brother.
Ragnar became king of the Vikings in the north. Time passes and the events of the 3rd season begin. Ragnar goes to Wessex. Ladrotha makes this man named Caffer place in power, and goes to Lee Wessex with Ragnar. Once she's gone, he turns against her and becomes the king.
All hail Earl Calf!
They and Wessex arrived in order to obtain the land promised to them by King Egbert. But Egbert says people are not satisfied with giving you land. He asks her to fight with Princess Contherath because she lost the war. This way you will improve your image before the princess.
Questa è la parte dell'invasione del Wessex.
To build the colony, and Kattegat stays with Ladrotha to translate for her. Ragnar arrives in Mercia and finds the princess's uncle's soldiers. Her brother's soldiers are on the beach. They shoot arrows. Ragnar watches the battlefield. He finds that there is no way to connect the 2 armies, so he attacks her uncle's army first, because there are fewer, and wins them, and the princess's brother escapes. Princess Quenthrith asks Ragnar to bring her uncle's head.
I want his head.
In Kattegat, Ragnar's wife, Floki's wife and Rollo's girlfriend. They see one dream about someone in a dream.
Both of you. We have all dreamed the same dream.
In the colony, Ladrotha knows. The colony has original inhabitants, but the king expelled them from it, and if they return, King Akbart will defend them. At Ragnar, they are looking for the brother of Princess Contrith. The princess asks Ragnar not to kill her brother.
Spare my brother.
Floki gets angry and doesn't like what he sees, doesn't want to fight for the Christians. There is a sick person. He decides to cut.
I want you to cut off my arm.
The news reaches Ragnar about the princess's brother over the mountains waiting for supplies. Ragnar, Vikings, and the rest of the army go. The injured person decides to go up and fight first. Follow Ragnar and the rest of the army and start the fight. Bjorn's friend is injured and rescued before she
Non è
dies,
molto
and Ragnar
strategico
saves
nei
the protecting
combattimenti.
prince. Akbart's son, Ethelwulf, appears and shoots arrows at them, and Ragnar asks them to kill the
Battaglie
princess's
molto
brother. They return to the camp,
spettacolari.
and Ragnar discovers from Bjorn that his girlfriend is pregnant, angering Ragnar, and a slap in the face. He says, "How did you bring her with you to battle while she is pregnant? This is not what men do." And he says that what happens is because of you.
I can't believe you're my son.
He follows Prince Ragnar and says that his uncle was controlling him. He asks forgiveness from Ragnar. Ragnar hits him, and he says, "I forgive you."
Ci sta.
Forgive you.
And Floki talks to Rollo and says that Ragnar loves Christianity, and that he has lost his faith. And roll it so that
Questo
this is
è
just a trick and say this is
il
the
cugino Loki. Allora, abbiamo visto un po' del riassunto delle prime stagioni. Se vi piace potete continuare questa fantastica, almeno secondo me, serie TV. Ciao a tutti da Rossi Wolf 89.